Hi, everybody. Alexis here with another installment of Real Ghost Stories from a real paranormal researcher and investigator. I'm not going to tell you the location of this spot because it is still a tourist attraction, but it was a plantation, of course, down south. They said that it was part of the Underground Railroad, but when we had the opportunity to have the place for 72 hours, day and night, we went in that night. We walked around all during the day just checking it out. Strange things happen. But that night, I'm sitting in one of the little shacks that the slaves would stay in, and they had doorways that led from one shack to the other, and it may be 5 shacks lined up, and then 5 more shacks, and then 5 more shacks, and then 5 more shacks, because apparently this plantation owner owned a lot of slaves. So we're in the first row, the center shack, and all the shacks had doorways that led from one to the other, one to the other, and one to the other, so that these people could actually go back and forth and share meals or just keep each other warm or communicate with each other without having to leave out, and they would just go from one doorway to the other. Well, we're sitting in the center shack, and I'm sitting in a chair that we brought in. I insisted that we brought in our own stuff because I did not want to sit on any of this furniture because it was delicate and it was old. Showing respect. As we're sitting there, I turn to my left and I look. And when I say I saw an older lady, African American, so I took it that she was a slave because I could make out some of her clothes and they were tattered. Well, I watched her and I'm not able to reach for my camera. So I told my girl Annie, who was sitting next to me, turn the camera to the left. I see something. Turn the camera to the left. When she goes to turn that camera goes off. She turns it back on, it goes back off as she's turning it to the left. Every time she tried to turn it to the left, it would go off. It would only work if it stayed straight or went to the right where nothing was going on. Yeah, which irritates the crap out of me. As we're sitting there, I'm staring at this entity that looks like I'm thinking, she's cooking. So maybe she's a residual and she doesn't know we're even here. She's just doing what she normally does. Well, she turned and looked at me after about 45 seconds. And she ran at me. Something hit me in my chest so hard that I fell over backwards out of my chair. Yeah, hit the floor. After I got up and I tried to get myself together, I was not going to leave this room now. Annie helps me up. I said, I'm good. We're going to stay in here because we don't believe in when something happens, you take off. So we're sitting there, and the door that she came flying through slowly starts to close. And we're looking at it. We can hear the door creak. And once that door closed, we could hear footsteps on the other side. So we get up and we open the door back up. The door closes again, and this time you can hear it lock, clink, clink. We couldn't get back in. But now there's another room where the beds were set up, and we hear a squeaking sound as if someone is actually sitting down on one of the beds. So we get up, we go in that room. Now, mind you, this is the South, and it's July, and it's hot. You could almost see your breath in this room. Hairs on your arms would stand up. You get chill bumps. The door slowly closed behind us. Clink, clink, we hear it lock. Now we're stuck in this room. We got our cameras, but every time we go to turn in a certain direction, anything but straight, they click off. We hear a child giggling and laughing as if they're playing, and then we start smelling what I could only describe as fat back, grease, as if someone is cooking from the next room, and we hear humming, like an older lady would hum when she's cooking. We keep trying to work that door. Door won't open. So I said, let's just sit here and ask them nicely. Sooner or later, either one of our team members is going to come here looking for us because they know we're in here, or they're going to open the door for us. Let's see which one happens. So as we're sitting there and Annie has the camera pointing straight, we're looking at a lantern on a table move, slowly moving, to the point where it got to the edge and then it backed up. Took about 5 minutes, but we're watching it because it's the only thing in our sight that's on our camera that's being lit up. We hear another door clink, clink, unlock, but it's not the room that we're in. It's actually the first door that unlocked. After about 45 minutes of sitting in this room, she starts saying, I don't mean any disrespect. I know maybe I shouldn't be here because I'm white, but I don't own any slaves. I never have. And in this day and time, we don't own slaves. Clink, clink, the door unlocks. And then Annie gets kicked in the butt, as if to say, get your white butt out of here. Yeah. Once they found out she was not a slave owner, they started playing games with her, pulling at her hair, kicking at her. They, they wouldn't leave her alone. I said, Annie, leave out of here and send somebody else in. She sends in another investigator who's African, newbie. We hear music. You can smell the food. But then I look up and there's a face in front of me that is melting. Scared me so bad because it was the face of a child, as if this child was being tortured, and you hear shackles and no massa, please massa, no massa. And then the face melts. Scared me so bad. I still see that little boy's face to this day, as if somebody set him on fire. And you can hear laughter. So, in my opinion, slave and slave owners shackled him and set him on fire. To this day, I hear his cries and his tears, and no massa, no massa. While I sat there paralyzed, watching in front of me a face literally melt. Yeah. Some of my stories are not going to be good. They're not what you see on TV. They don't come from movies. Movies can't compare to what people went through back then. And the pain is still here to this day. That plantation is still haunted. Remember, what you put out there, you get back. Peace, love, and positivity. Till tomorrow, bye.